Das Radical.
Howdy folks, and Happy New Year! Just like a lot of people, I decided to spend my holidays with friends and family, and during one of those visits, me and my aunt or niece or whatever it is, however it's called in English, because in Iceland we just call everything frænka or frændi, but that's a different story. Anyway, while hanging out with some relatives, someone asked, we talked about politics a little bit, and somebody asked a question that you hear all the time actually when you hang around with people that are more on the liberal side of things and talk about politics. And somebody asked, who the hell keeps voting for these guys? These guys in this context were the Conservative Party, the Independence Party. And that got me thinking, because I have heard this question asked a lot of times. I don't know, maybe people in more conservative circles ask themselves the exact opposite when a more left-leaning or centrist or liberal party gets a majority in the parliament. But here in Iceland you hear this question asked all the time. Like, there's an election and the Conservative Party, so the Independence Party, gets the majority of the votes, or at least the largest share, and people look around like, who voted for them? I don't know anybody, or like, who the hell keeps voting for these guys year after year after year? It should be noted that in the last elections they got around 25 point something% of the entire popular vote, which is, for them, not a whole lot. They still have the largest number of seats in the parliament, mainly because 8 political parties managed to get seats in the parliament. That means that the combined number of seats available for its party decreases statistically or mathematically, whatever. But yeah, so 25% isn't a whole lot for the Independence Party. But that's not what I want to focus on. What I want to focus on is the question and the subsequent answer. Why do people vote Conservative? Now, if you are a political nerd such as I am, the answer is fairly obvious, complicated, but still the answer is there. So I thought maybe I elaborate on that a little bit. I should note that I've never voted for the Independence Party myself. I don't think I've ever really considered them as a viable option even. I myself am more of a centrist, so trust me, there are people who are on the left of me who think much lower of the Independence Party than I do, for example. I mean, there are a lot of people that I know who think that Bjarni Benediktsson is downright treacherous, treasonous, which is downright ridiculous. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's an absolute elitist, but yeah, that's all he is really. He's just a neoliberal elitist, and that's not really a bad thing in my book, at least. I mean, I wouldn't vote for that guy, but there's nothing wrong about being elitist, so to speak. I mean, it all just depends on if you want to vote for him or not, or his party. So, just wanted to get that out of the way. Also, I'm hoping that this will reflect on maybe you in your own countries will ask yourself the same question. In Germany, maybe, why do people always vote for the Christian Democrats? Those are more on the right side of things, I think. Or in America, the Republicans, etc., etc., etc. So I'm just gonna try to give you the Icelandic perspective on conservatism. Again, I'm going to try to have this as brief and simplified as I can, but you know, there's a good chance I may be ranting for half an hour here, so I'll try to condense it a little bit down. So, who are these Icelandic conservatives? Well, they are the Sjálfstæðisflokkur, or Independence Party, and as the name would suggest, they initially at least relied heavily on the idea that Iceland would become a fully independent nation, so free from the Danish crown. The Independence Party was founded in 1929, I think, when the older Conservative Party, or Íhaldsflokkur, merged with the newly founded Liberal Party, or Frjálslyndiflokkur. I know what you're thinking. Wait, did he just say that a Conservative Party messed with a Liberal Party? Well, yeah, basically they agreed on the same issues regarding independence and yada yada yada, and basically the Conservative Party just sort of swallowed up the Liberal Party, but adopted some of their more open trade policies. You know, and since then the Sjálfstæðisflokkur has been a huge advocate of trade with other nations, which one has to admit has worked pretty well for us here in Iceland. Last time I checked, ever since the Sjálfstæðisflokkur was founded, there have been between 25 and 30 parliamentary elections, and the Sjálfstæðisflokkur has gotten the largest percentage of votes in, I think, at least 15 out of these elections, and in about as many they have been one of the main parties to form a coalition government, then usually with either Social Democrats or the Progressive Party, and together they have then formed a majority and set up their cabinets with a prime minister and minister seats and so forth. So it's safe to say that the more conservative party has had way more of an impact on Icelandic politics than, say, any other party. But as you may have noticed, Iceland is still definitely not a very conservative society, at least not in maybe the conservative sense that you may be thinking of in, say, the United States or whatever. And this is partly because, well, the Sjálfstæðisflokkur has been very good historically at adopting populist ideas from other parties that they have formed a coalition government with, and then adopting them as their own and then implementing them. Say universal health care and all sorts of other social welfare programs have only happened because the Independence Party either stood by and let them be enabled or adopted it into their coalition platform while making a government with, say, Social Democrats or again the Progressive Party. And of course another reason why people keep voting for these guys, as some people in Iceland would say, is, well, economic stability. This is something that they have for the most time been very good at maintaining, aside from a minor hiccup here and there. And people like economic stability. But there is one main reason also why people keep voting for the Independence Party, and this is, well, sad to say, this is thanks to incompetence on the other side. I'm sorry, yes, I know, but come on, it's true. Okay, maybe not incompetence, but for example, in the last election, like I said, the Independence Party had the highest amount of seats in Parliament, but the President decided to first give the right to form a coalition to the Left Green movement, the second largest party currently in Parliament, because he thought that it would be easier to form a broad left-leaning government, because there was great hostility towards the Independence Party, as there often is. But here's the thing. The parties that are more on the left side of things, or center or left in Iceland, and they really suck at forming a coalition government. They can't agree on anything, and basically they're always divided, always fighting over minor issues. And I've even mentioned it in one of my previous videos, just where I was explaining the current coalition government that we have, so this is something that doesn't plague the right side, at least not in this country. Sure, there may be minor squabbles here and there, maybe about the role of Christianity in politics and etc. But usually these arguments don't do much in stirring the water. So the right side of things is usually quite solid. Like, they know what they want, what they're fighting for, and what sort of a society they wanna create or lead. And the left simply is unable to do that. They spend hours and hours fighting over how to interpret socialism, or, you know, is this too far to the left, too far to the right, and it's a sad mess, really. Whereas the Independence Party, they don't have that problem. And that is partially because they simply have a much more centralized party structure, and people who vote for the Independence Party have a much more stronger identity with their party. It's kind of a they have a much greater like club or football team mentality that makes sure that they are able to keep their voters in check, so to speak, or keep them on a leash, which way you like to look at it. But it does show results, doesn't it? I mean, in the end, the only thing that matters is how many votes you get, and they are usually able to succeed in that department. Okay, I don't know if this is really reflective on conservatism in Western democracies as a whole, but I thought I'd at least give you the Icelandic perspective. Peace out!
Das Radikal.